So, hi and welcome to the 505X, the Executive Leadership Circle. As a part of the series Boardrooms and Beyond, we'll be going deeper into the minds of global leaders from different walks of life and bring out insights and thoughts by capturing their stories and experiences, their journeys beyond the confines of their boardrooms. Our guest for today is the Executive Director at Fairtrade Foundation India. He carries years of experience working with startups, social enterprises, and multinational corporations both in India as well as abroad. Please join me in welcoming Abhishek Jani.
Farmers are going through a hugely stressful period. The input costs have been rising. And in addition to that, what we see is the risks are getting amplified. Climate change being one of the factors because of which things are happening. And in addition to that, we are also seeing that the farmers themselves in many marginal communities are lacking opportunities to link to these markets on a favorable or a fairer term. So when the Switch Asia project came, it was an opportune moment for us to kind of pilot and at the same time scale up this connection between urban and rural India.
Hi, Abhishek, and welcome to the 505X.
Hey, Kush, a real pleasure and honor to be here.
Thank you so much. So, just before we get started, a little bit about fair trade. If you could maybe talk through what fair trade is all about.
Yeah, sure. So Fairtrade is a global network of not-for-profit organizations, which is committed to promoting more sustainable practices in our food and fashion value chains. So we work a lot in the agricultural value chains, starting right from the farm level, building capacity for smallholder farmers, helping them to adopt better sustainability practices on social, environmental, and economic parameters. And then from there, working up the value chain with businesses who can then source from these farmers and pay them a better price. I think most of us recognize that it's actually the smallholder farmers who cater to about 80% of our food requirements and agricultural raw material requirements in the world. But they are not that well remunerated. And so Fairtrade basically is on a mission to kind of inject more sustainability in these value chains and help the smallholder farmers also earn a better livelihood.
A key message is that businesses need to be more transparent, and businesses need to understand that living in the society, they have responsibilities beyond just a profitability and the economic objectives. We are working at Fairtrade with various businesses which recognize that their work and their footprint on the social and the environmental aspects are equally crucial. And certainly they recognize that it is not only doing a social good, but it is also ensuring that the business continuity and their reputation, their brand, their risk management in supply chains, all of those different crucial business aspects are also being met by complying and as well as coming up with a strategic framework for dealing with the social and the environmental standards.
Fantastic. So you lead the efforts here at Fairtrade India. So what have your prime learnings exactly been, and how has your journey been so far?
Yeah, I think in India, it has been exciting, hugely exciting, because I think it's got a tremendous potential for us. Fairtrade primarily works with farmers in developing countries. So, in India, we've been active for about 20 years or so. But when I joined the initiative, we wanted to take the conversation beyond the farmers to also the urban populace. So to the businesses as well as to consumers here, to kind of make them also part of this conversation on sustainability. And so to get the urban Indian consumer recognizing what is happening in farmlands, literally 200 to 300 kilometers away, from their residences, and making them appreciate that how their choices, whether in the mandi, in the supermarkets, or in the fashion stores, is actually affecting the lives of folks nearby. So it's had its own challenges. A lot of people initially thought that we were crazy to try and promote sustainability in the Indian context to the Indian consumer who's supposed to be so price sensitive and only driven by price. But it has been tremendously rewarding as we've gone on this journey that more and more people appreciate it, and the more people learn about what is actually happening, so more there is transparency, and more people appreciate where the food comes from, what goes behind their fashion value chains, the more they're engaging in it and the more they're valuing the concept of sustainability.
Fantastic. So my next question is going to be around sustainable practices in a way. So India being a growing market, like you actually mentioned, so where do you actually see these sustainable practices in the fashion and agro industries, sort of heading towards? So is there really, that much of awareness about such practices here in India as a market?
Yeah, globally, if you look at it, and then also look at it in the context of India, sustainability is actually the need of the hour, right?
Yeah.
People talk about as businesses to serving the need of a target group. We, at Fairtrade, talk about serving the need of the hour, and this is also partly because, you know, the people who are going to be most affected by the decisions, whether sustainable or non-sustainable, are the young folks and the folks who will bear the consequences in the future. So what we do today in this hour now has a direct repercussion and ripple effect and gets amplified on folks 5, 10, 20 years down the line. So we feel that, yes, this is something that is important, even in the context of India, whether you look at environmentally, whether you look at socially. This is something that is going to be relevant for the long term. And interestingly, in terms of the market for it or the interest for it, it's the young entrepreneurs as well as the young consumers who are really taking up this baton, and they're really driving sustainability. In many cases, they're bringing in the bigger businesses by showing them sustainable practices and how innovation with sustainability is possible. International businesses, of course, international businesses operating in India, Indian businesses wanting to go to the international markets. I think there is a greater appreciation and urgency, in the global markets around the concept of sustainability. And again, so there's a learning curve that's coming into here, but we also have a tremendous growth appetite and aspiration. So bringing in the two aspects of growth with sustainability is, I think, something which is catching on rapidly in India.
You've actually held leadership positions in different organizations, different sectors. So what have your primal learnings, been from a leadership standpoint? So could you just maybe, bring out a few attributes of, what a true leader really, looks like?
Yeah, I wouldn't say true leaders, but I'd say probably the leaders that I've been inspired by, and or leaders that I aspire, whose attributes I aspire to emulate. I think one of the things that we are seeing, and leaders that I've kind of worked with, is as a leader, you need to be a very good listener. You need to be able to recognize and build a team around you, and with a vision and a mission. I think it always helps when folks around are driven by a common mission. I dare say have a passion for a common mission. That really helps people drive. At the same time, I think leaders that I've kind of worked with, and what I hope that we as a team in Fairtrade are also trying to aspire towards, is that we keep an eye on diversity. We keep an eye on the differences in opinion, people coming and information coming from different sources, and incorporating that into our work. So I think those are the key aspects of leadership that I have seen, and something that I definitely try to aspire towards. And additionally, I think what I'm also working towards, and what we're trying to inculcate as leadership quality, is also tremendous amounts of patience and perseverance. I think that's important.
Absolutely. So these have been testing times for us. The pandemic has actually sort of hit us real hard, and they say leadership is a journey. So, what has this pandemic really taught you, as a leader? So, has there been any changes in the way you've actually sort of operated as a leader in any way?
Yeah, I think in terms of leading a team in these testing times, we've had to adapt very rapidly. I think that's one of the key lessons for anybody operating a team in these environments. That if you were committed to just one form of a business model or one form of a team management, I don't think you could be as productive. With the scenario being so volatile. The other aspect, I think, is that there is a huge need for compassionate leadership right now. And I think understanding that everybody is dealing with these circumstances differently. And in fact, the differences in circumstances are also getting amplified, whether it's the young, whether it's folks with families, the complex tasks. And so I think those two have been things that have been coming at the fore. Also, I think the other aspect in our sphere of work that we've been noticing more of is that the value of the team and the fact that you need to work together, and that a resilient team in these scenarios are those which are cognizant of the different contexts, who are sensitive to people needing to operate differently, and then bringing that into your productivity and your outputs. So I think those are the kind of key things that we've been working and incorporating in our as a team, and it's now working.
Great. So, from a self-alignment and a productivity perspective, most of us would be really interested in understanding how leaders like you really think. So, how do you sort of build your knowledge over time, and how do you sort of gain insights, manage time, stay motivated at the same time, and what keeps you going, what keeps you inspired all the time? So, maybe if you could shed some light around that.
Yeah, I think for me, Kush, what's been true for my journey in the Fairtrade India work is that I'm blessed to be pursuing a passion, and I'm blessed that this is something that really aligns also with my core being and my values. I'm doing work that when I wake up, I feel happier about and happier getting into work, right? So now whether I do it from home or I go out for meetings or do it for my office. So I think that's something which is really important, at least for me personally, and that then also provides the opportunity for others to see how they want to take this work forward. And even in our small team, we literally each one has a different orientation or approach to which they come to Fairtrade India with. So with all of that, I think it's really that which helps us drive our work and our mission. And of course, it's been frustrating to see the progress that we've made in, let's say, the last few years getting pushed back by the circumstances of the pandemic and the crisis around it. But at the same time, it also doubles up our motivation that, hey, we've got to catch up fast. We got to get it back. And in the case of Fairtrade, because we're looking at creating impact for the vulnerable farmers, we're looking at improving the environmental situation, in our country, around the world. It kind of helps us kind of keep that in focus and then drive based on that focus. And so we continue.
Fantastic. Now, successful leaders, I'm sure have their own sort of routines, and I'm sure you also have some sort of routine that you actually really follow for a productive day. So, can you sort of shed some light around what your routine really looks like in a given day?
Yeah. So interestingly, in the COVID context, I've been able to do a lot more reflection and also incorporate some of the things that I thought or aspired towards in my previous rushed life. And I hope that after the COVID situation resolves itself, some of these lessons will continue. But I think something that I've consistently done throughout my working career is I work with a very clear set of to-do lists for the day. So every morning when I get up, whether it would be on my way to office or now just on my way to get to my table, first thing I would do is pick up my agenda for the day, put my thoughts together in a very clear what is a must achieve, what is a nice to achieve category, and also appreciating the fact that the must achieve should probably cover no more than a third of my day. And then I can then focus on the nice to achieves and as it always happens, there are always external factors that keep coming in. So new information, a new priority, a new customer engagement. So those things need, again, time to be processed and incorporated in the day. So yeah, prioritize, focus on a fixed agenda which is achievable for the day, and then bring in other factors. And the other aspect is, obviously, you're not doing this alone, right? So it's important that you bring in the team. I'll make sure that the team's status quo, or their current status, is kind of something that is in alignment with what you guys want to do. If there's something different that has come up, that's been incorporated by the team. So I think we've been doing a lot more you know Zoom calls, a lot more connects with the team than we were doing probably even before. I think before it should just be a quick call or a meeting. Now we're doing it because of this current scenario. We're doing a lot more of that, which is great, and which is then helping us all being aligned and drive in a more productive way.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are demanding situations, and every leader, like you as well, go through a lot of, demanding tasks on a given day, just like how you mentioned. So, how do you actually sort of manage your downtime and manage your stress in this fast-paced, demanding lifestyle of yours?
Yeah, I think for me, music has been a constant source and an escape. So, yeah, bringing that in wherever possible in breaks, or I start my mornings with a good dose of music, with a good dose of peppy, happy music,
Yeah.
and then when one's wrapping up the day. And actually, with COVID, that's one of the great things that has happened, is that one is able to connect with the family a lot more. Initially, it was too much, but I think now everybody has found their comfort zone a bit. And so, take the breaks with the family. Normally, I would have come back home to the family and spend time with my wife, with my dog, who's my four-legged son, and my daughter. And that for me is the ultimate stress buster. And yeah, currently those are the things that now we're learning to incorporate, spread across the day, as opposed to in solid doses.
Absolutely. So, future-wise, so what are some of your current projects or upcoming projects that you're actually sort of focused on?
Yeah, Kush, so the work we do actually is in some of the most exploited value chains, and that's where the need of an organization like Fairtrade is. So, because that's where the change is most critical, right? So we are working in two specific value chains where we are trying to look at factors like human rights. We're trying to look at factors like environmental sustainability. So we're working a lot on sustainable fashion. A lot of challenges. Actually, COVID has brought in a lot of challenges in the fashion industry, around garment factory workers, their wages, around, again, environmental considerations in some of these factories, which have really had to cut a lot of costs and to stay afloat. So we're working a lot on sustainable fashion, slow fashion, creating awareness about the need for it, also working on the value chains to get the sustainability incorporated. And the other sector that we're working a lot is in sugarcane. Again, a very highly exploited value chain, with some really sad stories of migrant labor being mistreated, a lot of concern around, obviously, the use of sugar amongst consumers. But we are, India is a country which has the world's largest sugar consumption. So so there's clearly a lot of it being produced and consumed in the country. So how do we make sure that whatever we consume, even in a product like sugar, is not leading to exploitation of people? And it's also a very thirsty crop, so it has a huge water footprint. How do we incorporate that? How do we look at climate smart cane? So those are the two key areas that we're currently working on, where we think that there's a lot of action needed. Um, and simultaneously, our work of creating consumer awareness continues. So we're doing campaigns where we're driving the youth, the urban populace, to recognize again that, hey, your everyday choices have an impact on the lives of farmers, on the lives of workers, and on the environment. And how you choose can make that difference, between people getting a sustainable income, or people being pushed to poverty and exploitation. So that consumer dialogue, without making it too heavy, keeping a campaign conversation which is light. So that's the other thing that we're really working on for the next 12 months.
Fantastic. So, all the best, when it comes to that. Now, in terms of inspiring others, a whole lot of youngsters would be watching this, video as and when it will be posted. So, what are the three things that you would actually want to tell the younger generation?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I'd say that there is no substitute to hard work. Okay, whatever you want to do, if you want to do it well, you need to work hard, and you will reach a stage, I think, where that hard work actually is enjoyable, right? The second thing I would say is hard work becomes enjoyable when you are doing things that align with your passions, that align with your values. I think that's something that I felt myself as well, having worked both in sectors where I felt that I've just been a cog in the wheel and not seeing purpose in my work, to now doing work where I really feel excited every morning. Having done it for the last 7 years, I still feel excited every morning when I get up to do it. And that's because of that alignment. So I think pursuing passions, pursuing work which align, and you may do it at different stages of your career, but keeping that in mind and working towards that, I think, is good. Doing things with the due passion, and also when you work hard, I think the critical thing also I would say is be patient and have perseverance. I think when I go back to when I was a young boy getting into the financial sector, I was in such a hurry, and I think it's time and age that kind of brings that understanding. But I feel that now, I appreciate the value of that patience and perseverance, and I also see the fruits of it. If you stick to things, not get bogged down and think of things as failure or success. A failure is only a failure if you do not learn from it. Otherwise you're just trying different ways of achieving your objectives. So that perseverance, that patience, appreciating your circumstances with that, and of course when you're pursuing your passion, it becomes easy to do and take all of these things on board.
Fantastic. So, one final one before we sign off. One success mantra that you live by.
Well, the success mantra that I have arrived at after a lot of trial and error is, for me, is that follow what you believe in, and make sure that you are doing work where you're not having to compromise on your core values. And I think if you do that, and you follow these rules, not only will you be able to go far, but I feel that you'll be also able to sleep better at night.
Fantastic. So, look, Abhishek, thank you so much for your time today at the Firefly X and sharing some great insights and best practices, which I'm sure will help and inspire many of us. Thank you once again for being a part of this.
Thank you so much for having me, Kush. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, wish you all the success.
Thank you.